This is the Fitzy and Whipper with Kate Ritchie podcast.
Caught up with an old teacher the other day from primary school. I do love, like, a teacher. When you get a good teacher, they are a great mentor and they do mean a lot in your life. You look back and you go, because usually you only get them for 1 year, Kate. That's the thing. You get a good teacher, then you move on to another teacher the year after. So you're always yearning to go back to that teacher. Yeah. But this teacher is retired now, wanted to catch up, and I thought, why not? And we had a great day. A couple of coffees, went out for lunch, and he was telling me, this is unbelievable. I didn't know this, but in Australia, and the government put this forward, it was the state super scheme, right? So when he started out as a teacher, he was early 20s, right? Okay. And he said, if my principal at the time was still alive, I would kiss him, because the principal said to him, convinced him to sign up for the government state super scheme. Now, it's not around anymore. It finished in 1986, but this was before superannuation was even introduced into Australia. Okay. And if you signed up for it, the longer that you worked as a teacher, the more pension that you got when you retired. So it was a scheme to keep teachers around. Okay. So he worked as a teacher for over 40 years before he retired, Kate. Mm-hmm. And now he said, when I worked so long as a teacher, that when I finished, I was getting 70% of my final pay, but every year that goes up with the cost of living. He now gets $1,500 a week pension for the rest of his life. I love this so much.
Deserves it.
It was taken out in 1986 because the government realised we're paying too many people and it's too much of an incentive. And he said that there's been other countries that had this incentive as well, and Greece was one of them, and they basically went broke, Greece, because of it.
Yeah, all the teachers became kings.
Because of all the pensions. Now this is working for an Australian government department, right? So it might be social worker, it could be another department, but if you signed up, and a lot of people didn't sign up, they were a bit freaked out by it. I think there was a certain amount that you had to put away here and there, but this was before superannuation.
When you're starting out too in your career, you kind of think, well, every dollar, like, you can't really see the future back then.
I think it's a great incentive, though, because you get people to stick around, and you know what? Then they're actually, when they're finished, because I mean, it happens with politicians as well. If you get 2 terms in your local electorate, don't you get a pension for the rest of your life?
Yeah, you do. I think you get a driver for the rest of your life if you serve 2 terms as Prime Minister.
13, 24, 10, these little pensions that you've heard of, or schemes, or the money that people are getting even when they've retired from working.
There was an article getting around last week because a guy was door stopped. He was walking down the street, and it was like one of those guys on TikTok, and he goes up and he says, "Hey, what's your name?" "G'day, I'm Darren." What do you do for work, Darren?" He goes, "I'm a teacher." The guy goes, "Okay, full-time work? How much are you on?" And he said, $170,000.
Is he a principal? Is he?
I don't know, no. But I thought that sort of bucks the trend of what you normally hear regarding teachers' salaries. I mean, obviously they're underpaid, you know, for the work that they do for other people's kids and the hours. They're long hours as well. Yeah. See, teaching is a big ask.
And my teacher, he said, you know what, I went through the GFC, I went through all those crashes in the global economy, and I was looking at friends around me who were really struggling with superannuation, but he said, I always knew I was fine with getting $1,500 a week, and now his life is, he's very close to his family, but he said, you know, my life now is just booking a holiday away every year. I like to go overseas somewhere different every year.
Well, it's nice to hear stories like that, because we're used to hearing, you know, I'm just getting by stories, you know.
Yes.
Especially you get to the end of it. It is. And I think too, as we have parents who are ageing, ideally, you see them get to the end of their life, or the golden years, and you want it to be easier, not harder.
No, they deserve a kicker. Nova has said I've got in my contract here that I get some...
The driver. You just worried about... You didn't worry about the pension. You just wanted the driver.
I get 3 CDs once I've left the company.
Well, I'm hoping CDs come back, because I've still got some beauties. Gabrielle Chilmy, if she comes back and has a new hit song, I am going to make an absolute fortune.
Fitzy and Whipper with Kate Ritchie is a Nova podcast. For more great shows like this, download the Nova Player via the App Store or Google Play.
The Nova Player.